Perfect. Jazakallah khair. If you guys, what we're going to do is, what I'm talking about today is going to be on this QR code. I'm giving you guys this so you have access to it. Even after you leave, you'll still have access to the information. So you can still benefit from it, even if maybe everything is not covered. So what I'm going to do right now is just, we're going to spend like 1-2 minutes. You can scan the QR code if you've never done it before. You take your camera app. You don't need to take a photo of it. What you need to do is just keep the phone scanned on it, and then a link is going to come up on the bottom. You click it, and it's going to take you to the folder, which has the information. So that's how the QR code works. If anybody needs any help, let the person next to you know. Maybe they'll know how to figure it out. So I'm just going to pass it around. Here you guys go. So you can scan it on your phone, and then it's going to pop up. Well, if they want to attend, they can attend. They can attend if they want to attend. But the Salah positions, it's going to be discussed from the men's side. But still, it's beneficial because it's going to go over what is basically we're going to discuss which positions of the Salah are fard, which ones are wajib, which ones are sunnah. So that applies to everybody. Yeah. If the sisters want to attend as well, the generalities of what we discussed today, it applies to both sides, right? Brothers and sisters. So if they want to attend, they can attend as well. Okay. All right. Is anybody having any difficulty scanning the QR code? Any technical issues that we have? Okay. Brothers in the back, you guys are staying? Yeah, you guys are staying? Okay. All right, he's scanning it too. All right, so what I wanted to do was, okay, if you open it, just click the practice version. So it's going to open up a folder. Just click on the practice version. Don't click on the other two. That's kind of like an answer key, the other one. So we don't want the answer key just yet. We want to kind of see where we're at when it comes to Salah. Okay. So the way it's going to work, let me just explain to you guys one basic thing, and then we're going to go, we'll start the topic, okay? When we pray Isha prayer, there's 3 types of prayers that we're praying at Isha time. There's a fard prayer, there's a wajib prayer, and there's a sunnah prayer. Can you guys tell me if I'm praying the 4 rakats with the imam, is that considered I'm praying my 4 fard of Isha? Is that wajib or is that sunnah? That's the fard? Okay. What happens if I don't pray that with the imam? Am I good for the day? Or is there something missing on my daily salah if I miss that 4 fard with the imam? That will count against me, right? That's a big deal. You can't miss a fard, okay? After Isha prayer, we pray 2 rakat sunnah. If I miss those 2 rakat sunnah, what's the status? The next day, let's just say I go to sleep. Do I have to remake those 2 rakat sunnahs now when I wake up? We don't have to make them up, right? Okay. They're good to do it, but if I don't do it, my prayer is still, okay. Overall, Isha is still good. Okay, then after that, there's 3 rakats witr. If I don't pray my witr, what happens? Witr you have to, right? It's not fard, it's not at the highest level like our 5 daily prayers, Fajr, Zohar, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, but it's still wajib, it's still mandatory. If you don't do it, you do have to make up for it later, okay? This idea of fard, the wajib, and sunnah, in the prayer itself, each action that we do is also labeled under these 3 categories. Every action that we do in the prayer, and we'll demonstrate it one by one, is either considered fard, meaning if you don't do it, your prayer is broken on the spot. It is wajib, meaning if I don't do it, I have time before the prayer ends, I can do something that will make up for that mistake. Or it's sunnah, meaning I did not do that, my prayer can still continue as is, but I lowered the quality of my prayer. Maybe my prayer was going at a 90%, and now I missed a couple sunnahs in my prayer. It went down to an 80%. Okay? So each position of the prayer is one of these three things. It's either fard, wajib, or sunnah. Why is this helpful to know? Because when you're praying, sometimes you go to the imam and you ask him, hey, I did not, for example, this was the one I most recently was asked about. When I went into sujood, like their parents are old now. So he said, sometimes my mom, she forgets to say the tasbih. She does not say Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana. She does not even say it sometimes. She does the motion, she goes into sujood, sajda, but sometimes she forgets, oh, did I even say anything or did I just go down? Do I have to repeat my prayer now? This becomes a confusion for them. And shaitan, what is shaitan going to do? Shaitan is going to play with this waswasa, right? This is like the shaitan's best game now. Oh, I'm going to confuse them about prayer itself, a good thing, and I'm going to make them doubt their prayer. And now, even when they're doing good, I have them. They still don't feel good about it though. So they're not going to feel confident in their prayers. So this is a very common tactic of shaitan. Even when you pray, you still don't feel good. So the point of today's session, inshallah, is let's find out what is the rank of each of these prayer positions so we know what is the things we want to focus the most on, and then we want to then regulate our time in perfecting the sunnahs. Because while we do want to do every sunnah, we want to prioritize, okay, let's at least make sure we're doing our fard and wajib of the prayer, because that's what makes or breaks it. Our sunnahs is what's going to beautify it. It's what's going to make it look good. So inshallah, that's what we're going to discuss today. Okay. I was going to make it into more of like a game thing where we have two teams, but the age demographic has skewed a little higher, and I don't want to have the elders compete with one another. And kids like to compete. I don't know if the older elders want to compete with each other. We'll make it a little more casual. We'll just keep it a discussion based, okay? But if you want, you can keep a tally. Because if you opened up the practice version on your phone, for example, you'll see that the prayer positions are there, but I put blanks on a lot of them. Because I want to see if we as a community, do we know what is the ranking of it? Is this a fard, or is it a wajib, or is it a sunnah? So that's the whole idea behind it. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start, okay? First one is we commence the salah in the standing posture and by reciting takbir. Okay, so the very first thing is you have to start the salah by saying, in the standing posture, we're standing. I don't know if I should be demonstrating the whole time or just sitting. This is a struggle. What should I do? We'll do demonstration. It'll be a little bit easier. All right, so first thing is, if physically capable, you want to be standing up and praying. We're talking about ideal scenario. If you are somebody that is physically capable, when it comes to a fard prayer, you must stand up and pray. If you're feeling tired because you had a crazy hoop session, that is not enough of an excuse to be sitting down and praying for a fard prayer. For Fajr, Zohar, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, you have to be standing and praying. If we were talking about the Fajr sunnahs though, before Fajr prayer, you're feeling tired, I can sit down and pray. I'm tired, I want to sit down. For sunnah prayer, you can sit down and pray if you are physically capable. We're not talking about if you have some type of injury or you have like some type of issue where you cannot stand up and pray. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about the average person, healthy, able-bodied. They have to stand up and pray. Fajr, Zohar, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. Tiredness is not an excuse to not do that. But if you're praying a sunnah prayer, more than welcome. You can sit down and pray, no problem. Okay, so the very first thing is commencing the salah in the standing posture and by reciting takbir. Are we agreeing that this is a fard, a wajib, or a sunnah? What do you guys think? This is a fard. Have to do that. Okay. Now let's get into the next one. Number 2. Use the word Allahu Akbar specifically to commence the salah. When I begin the prayer, I say Allahu Akbar. I'm not even going to, I don't even want to tie my hands yet. That's going to be the next one. I'm just going to say Allahu Akbar. Is that going to be fard, wajib, or a sunnah? As a fard, this one is considered a wajib. At a technical level, this is something, again, in madrasa we learned it with our teachers. You can technically do any praise of Allah to commence the prayer, But definitely, especially if you're in a masjid setting, if you're in a leading situation, if you're in any type of situation where there's people involved, saying Allahu Akbar is the way that you want to go. I remember one time, one of the kids, he was like in the first year of madrasa. It's first 1 to 6 years, right? So the first year he learned something new. They just want to do it just because it's for the sake of being different. So he starts the prayer by saying Subhanallah instead of saying Allahu Akbar. Is the prayer valid? Yes. But did everybody else have a problem with him doing it? Yeah, because it causes confusion, because not everybody will know that. And so if you're in a position where you're leading, especially if you're in a masjid gathering, you lead the prayer the way that everybody, you know that everybody is comfortable and they're not going to have any like, oh, what's happening here? This masjid is different. Start the prayer by saying Allahu Akbar. This is wajib, and if you look at the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, this is the way that it was always led. Okay. Raise both hands and fingers with the palms facing the qibla up to the earlobes without tilting the head at the time of reciting the takbir. So now my head is like this. I'm going to take out my palms. I'm going to have my top of my finger at least should reach my earlobe. It should at least reach to this point. And then I say Allahu Akbar like this. Is this considered now a fard, a wajib, or a sunnah? This is our first sunnah. That you must at least do it to this point, okay? The tip of the finger should reach at least to right here, the earlobe. Okay. Place the right hand over the left hand below the navel. So we're going to place it, navel is basically this belly button region. So I'm going to place my left hand and my right hand over it. The way our teachers described it was, if you're physically capable, again, not everybody's hand is different, ideally, you should try and connect these two fingers around your wrist, okay? Connect your pinky and your thumb around your wrist, and the remaining 3 fingers, keep them like this, parallel, with your wrist right here, with your arm, okay? If you're physically capable of tying it, that's great. If not, it's not a big deal. Again, that's just the ideal placement. And then keep your 3 fingers like this, relaxed. You're gonna keep them over your navel like this. Is this considered a fard, a wajib, or a sunnah? What do you guys think? This is sunnah. And this is something, I mentioned this because many people, they get scared when they see people praying like this. Like this. But at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, understand, this is not a make or break masala of where to put the hands while you're praying. It's considered sunnah. And what the schools of thought have done is they've put the opinion of what they believe to be the best opinion, the highest ranking opinion according to them. But it doesn't mean anybody that prays like this, or like this, you cannot tell them that they're incorrect in their prayer. You know, we have to move beyond these debates in our masjids. We have a lot of bigger things to worry about. We just found out that this is considered sunnah in the prayer. So if you see somebody praying slightly different than you, understand that yes, maybe they do, because that's valid according to their school of thought. You respect it and you move on. Because again, it's not a wajib, it's not a sunnah it's not a fard, it's not a wajib that's being broken. This is a sunnah according to them. This is the best version of tying your hands or where to keep your hand placement while in the prayer. So that's position number 4. Okay. Keep both feet spread from each other to the extent of 4 fingers. So when you're standing, ideally speaking, you want a firm balance. And so how is that going to be formed? If the more you go outward, again, it causes a little bit less of balance between the body. So you want to keep it in line with your body itself. You don't want to go beyond your body. See, now I'm stretching it beyond. It's a little bit tougher now. I'm not as firm in my prayer position. When it's in line with my body still, I have firmness in my body. I have control over my prayer. So keep both feet spread from each other to the extent of 4 fingers. You should at least be able to put 4 fingers in between, ideally speaking. Don't go so tight. You know, like what happens now like this. Now, you don't even feel good. It's just like, you get all squished. I'm sure you guys have prayed those prayers before. You wanted to get to the front row. Yesterday, a guy in Jummah prayer, I was like, you're not going to fit, boy, if you go in the front row. He still did it. Whole prayer like this. And I was like, this is what happens. You get excited. Yeah, it's good you wanted to go to the front row. But if you can't even pray properly, you're missing out. It's uncomfortable. So at least have the space of 4 fingers in between your feet. All right, is that considered a fard, a wajib, or a sunnah? This is sunnah. If somebody goes a little bit more, chalo, they're doing it, that's fine. It's not a make or break. You know, like some people, they do the footsies when they pray. You know, we don't feel comfortable, right? It's like, oh, why are you touching my feet? I don't like that. I don't even want my mom touching my feet. You be a random person who's touching my feet? No, sir. But it's not a make or break. Again, that's what we want to keep in mind. So, yes, it's sunnah to at least do it to this extent. Okay. Next, recite the thana. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa tabaraka ismuka wa ta'ala jadduka wa la ilaha ghayruk. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. All three of these things, before we start the prayer, we should recite them. The thana, subhanakallahumma. Ta'awuz, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillah, basmala, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. These three things, are they fard, wajib, or are they sunnah? These are sunnah. So if you don't know them, again, you haven't beautified your prayer to the best extent, but your prayer is still valid. If you forget, for example, to say it, or you're still in the process of learning it. You know, if you're a new Muslim, it's always helpful. All right, what are the things I need to learn? You want to learn things very fast, right? Because there's a lot of stuff to learn in the prayer. Teach the fard and the wajibat so they can at least get started praying. Teach them these things so they feel comfortable in the prayer. So the thana, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, ta'awudh, these are sunnah elements of the prayer. They beautify the prayer, they make it beautiful, but if you don't say it, your prayer is still valid at the end of the prayer. All right. Reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. Is this a fard, a wajib, or a sunnah? This is a fard. This is considered a wajib. Surah Al-Fatiha, recitation itself is what you must do, right? You have to do some form of recitation. So Surah Al-Fatiha is a must in prayer. It is a wajib. You must do this, reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin, Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in, Ihdina Siratal Mustaqim, Siratal Ladhina An'amta Alayhim, Ghayril Maghdubi Alayhim Waladdallin. Ameen. This is a surah, every single rak'ah, you're going to be saying it, no matter what. It is wajib in order for you to say it. And oh yeah, we didn't discuss this yet, but I guess it's fine. We'll discuss it right now. If I don't say a wajib, what am I going to do to make up for it? Let's just say one day I forget to recite Surah Al-Fatiha my first rak'ah. What am I going to do? At the end of the prayer, maybe you guys have done this before, there is a sajda sahu. So when the imam, when he goes down and the last rak'at of the prayer, you're just going to recite up until the point where you say the at-tahiyyat. And once you get to the at-tahiyyat, the imam is going to suddenly say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, just to the right side, and he will do sajda 2 times. Allahu Akbar, he'll do sajda. Allahu Akbar, get up. Allahu Akbar, go down again for sajda. And now again, you're going to go back into the sitting position and you're going to finish your prayer. That sajda, that extra sajda that we did, is the sajda of forgetfulness. And that will make up for any wajib mistake that you made in the prayer. So if, for example, I forgot to say Surah Al-Fatiha in the prayer at any point, that is going to be my key to fixing that mistake. Now, if you forgot to do so, what are you going to do at that point? You're going to repeat the whole prayer now because you ended the prayer with a mandatory element missing. Okay? Yeah. So this again goes into a little bit of a gray area, but classic Hanafi opinion is you don't recite anything when the imam is reciting. It's said that the recitation of the imam is the recitation of the musallin. So you do not need to recite anything. If you want to open up the discussion then there's a lot of gray room because according to the other schools of thought, you do have to at least recite Surah Al-Fatiha. So that's why if you notice, sometimes in the Jummah Salah, after Imam says, Ghayril Maghdubi Alayhim Waladdallin, Ameen, Imam is going to pause for maybe like a couple extra seconds, and you're like, oh, is he falling asleep? What happened? He's leaving a little bit of time for musallis to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, but again, that's a little bit of that gray area. We're not going to cover that today, but yeah. Yeah, you remain silent. Yeah, you remain silent in those ones because the imam's recitation is the musalli's recitation. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're saying like if you're a musalli and you joined late, or you're just musalli? Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, if you're following the imam, you should follow the way that he's doing it and those situations, right? And they're valid. This is something that our teacher taught us a lot, especially like in Ramadan. There's different ways to pray witr. And he would pray witr salah differently than what he normally would pray in his own, because he said at the end of the day, these are valid opinions, and if you follow an imam that's doing it that way, according to him it's considered correct, it's fine for you. You don't have to redo it your own way then afterwards, because according to that imam, when he led, it was correct according to him. So you don't have to redo any witr prayer or sajda sahu if it's done differently according to your school of thought. At the time of that prayer, it was valid because the imam did it that way. Okay. Recite Ameen after reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. This is the favorite activity of everybody, every musalli, right? After the Fatiha, Ameen as loud as we can, right? Is that considered fard, wajib, or sunnah? That's sunnah to do so. If you don't do it, you're not going to get mad at the person next to you. Hey, we're all supposed to say it as loud as possible, right? No, it's sunnah to do so. If you did it, that's good. You beautified the prayer. But if you don't, it's a sunnah. Okay. Recite a surah or 3 verses from the Quran. So I recited Surah Al-Fatiha, that is wajib. I must do it every single time. What about reciting a surah after it, or at least 3 verses from the Quran? Is that fard? Is that wajib? Is that sunnah? That's sunnah. This one is wajib. So reciting a surah alongside Surah Al-Fatiha is wajib. It is necessary. So after Surah Al-Fatiha, at least I should recite 3 ayahs from the Quran. Oh man. At least 3 ayahs? That's the smallest portion to at least be considered from the Quran, at least like reciting something. So from the hadith we gather, at least, because the shortest surah is 3 ayat. So we establish from there, at least you recite 3 surah ayat from anywhere else. Because to recite a surah, the shortest surah is Surah Al-Kawthar. And it has 3 ayahs in it. So if we have to recite a surah, we derive from there then, okay, if you're going to recite from any other surah, Surah Al-Baqarah, surah, anything, at least have it be 3 short ayahs or 1 long one. It could be 1 long one as well. For example, if you're going to recite in Surah Al-Baqarah, there's the ayah, the second to last page, right? It's 1 page long. So if you recite that whole ayah, are you going to tell me I have to recite 2 more after that? No. You can just recite that 1 long ayah, no problem. But you at least have to recite that. Yes. If you forget or if you don't do it, the prayer will still be valid. For this, you must at least recite a surah though, meaning a short surah or at least 3 ayahs. You do have to do that for the standing. For the recitation, yeah, Surah Al-Fatiha plus a surah. So it could be any one of those to that extent. I never get calls the entire week. This is the only time somebody ever calls me, I promise you. 2 people called. That's weird. Anyway, okay, man, I wanted to quickly, I forgot what it was. Okay, the 3 shortest combination of ayahs that you can get, does anybody know what they are? The 3 shortest possible combination of ayahs in the whole Quran. Man, I know which surah it's in, but I don't know what 3 verses they are. Let me see if I can quickly think of them. If anybody here knows, let me know. What is the 3 shortest ayahs you can say in succession? It's not Surah Kawthar. Surah Kawthar is 1 line. There's another surah that has 3 verses that are short. It's even shorter than 1 line. Let me see. Not even Al-Asr. Shorter. Well, Asr is 1.5 lines, 2 lines. I'm sorry? Surah Kawthar is 1 line. There's one even less than 1 line. No, Ar-Rahman is also 1. Okay, you guys are going to be guessing other surah. It's in Surah Muddathir. It's Surah Mudaththir. It's a combination of one of those initial, in those first 20 verses. If you check, one of those 3 verses in a row is going to be like half a line almost, 3/4 of a line. It's the shortest possible line that you can get while reciting in the prayer. I forgot which one it is. ثُمَّ نَظَرَ ثُمَّ عَبَسَ وَبَسَرَ. No. It's the one right before that, I think. Right there. All right, anyways. Okay. After reciting my Fatiha and a surah, I'm going to go now and recite takbir to perform the ruku of Salah. So I'm going to say Allahu Akbar and I'm going to go into the ruku. Performing the ruku of the prayer, is this considered a fard, a wajib, or a sunnah? The ruku itself, the action of ruku. This is fard. You have to do the ruku. Ruku is one of the fundamental aspects of the prayer. If you don't do ruku, you've missed out on a fundamental aspect of the prayer. So I have to do the motion. Notice what I'm saying here. The motion of ruku, it's fard. You have to do it. I have to go down and bow like this. Okay? In the ruku posture, a man should grasp both the knees with both hands while keeping the knees straight and the head and back at the same level. So I should basically be grasping both of my knees. And ideally speaking, I'm not going to do it, but if anybody here, if you did the classic water bottle test, that's what your back is supposed to be. When you're in ruku, your feet should be aligned straight, your hands grasping your knees. Your back should be to the point where if you were to rest something on it, it would not topple over. The best way to test that is you get a glass of water. If one of these guys, I could do it with them, I'd love to do it, but we don't got a glass of water. Are you confident that if I put a glass of water on your back while you do ruku, a water would not fall? It wouldn't? How much are you willing to guarantee that? Yeah, he's saying he guarantees it won't. All right, we might at the end have to hold him accountable. We might just do that demonstration because he's confident in himself. That's ideally speaking, right? Obviously, as you grow older, depending on how you treat your body, it will fight back with you when you try to do these things. So that's the goal. You want to at least keep it to that point. Okay. Is that considered, though, a fard, a wajib, or a sunnah? For me to keep my knees grasped, back aligned, and feet straight. What is that considered? This is sunnah, right? Because again, this is something, and this is the beauty of Islam, right? The way the salah is made is the things that are almost outside of our control, meaning sometimes it's going to be too difficult. Notice how those things have not been made at a higher ranking than the more easier things. The easier things have been given the higher ranking. The more difficult things, keeping your back straight such that you know that nothing is going to fall over, topple over, it's been considered a sunnah. It's a beauty of the prayer. For you to be somebody that normally you walk hunchback, you don't really put in that effort to in your daily motions, but during the prayer, suddenly you get that josh, like that excitement. No, I'm going to do the prayer the best of my ability. I'm going to keep my back as straight as possible. That is you beautifying it, and that is you fulfilling a sunnah. And that's beautiful. But if you cannot do it, it does not break your prayer. It just takes away from that beauty. Okay, recite the tasbih in ruku. So, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. Is this considered a fard, a wajib, or a sunnah? For me to recite the tasbih while I'm in ruku. This is considered sunnah. So this answers a pretty big question, right? Remember I told you in the beginning, my friend's mom, she was wondering sometimes, when I go into ruku, when I go into sujood, sometimes I forget, did I even recite anything? Well, now that we know that, this is a sunnah of the prayer, meaning this beautifies the prayer, this makes it better, but it doesn't break your prayer if you don't do it. We can tell them that, rest assured, your prayer is okay. You don't have to repeat your prayer. You don't have to have this thought after every single time you pray, does my prayer even count? Do I have to repeat my prayer? No, you can be confident, okay, yes, I missed out on something maybe that could have made it better, but my prayer is not broken. And that for a lot of people means a lot, because I know there's many brothers and sisters in the community, they have very strong waswasa when it comes to wudu and prayer. I have a brother, every year he will contact me once a year. I have to physically send him a video at me at my house the way I make wudu. That's the only way he feels good. He's like, brother, I don't feel good about my wudu. I need to see you do it. So I tell my wife, okay, I go to the bathroom and I literally record the video for him. And I tell him, Assalamu alaikum, brother, this is the way I make my wudu. And I explain it as I'm doing it, and he's like, brother, now I feel good. But before that, I did not feel good. And he sends me this video. Every year I have to do it. It's a new version every year, 2019, 2020. Every year I be sending it to him. Why? Because for some people it's different, right? Our confidence with prayer, everybody is different. So understand, at least with this element, when you know the ranking of each prayer position, you feel more confident in yourself. Okay, I know what I'm doing well though. I know what I'm focusing on, and I know I'm not doing that incorrectly. Okay. Next, recite Sami Allahu liman hamida to stand up. This is considered, is it fard, wajib, or sunnah? Sami Allahu liman hamida. This is considered sunnah. To recite that is considered sunnah. The key thing is the position itself though. So now standing up after ruku. So I'm in ruku. I said, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. I got up, Sami Allahu liman hamida. And now the standing itself that I'm doing, is this fard, wajib, or sunnah? This is considered a wajib. Wajib meaning you have to stand after getting up from your ruku. I tell this to the kids the most. I stress this to kids because this is something that when you are more athletic, when you're younger, you don't realize when you're considered standing. This is what a lot of younger guys are going to do because they pray at a much faster motion because their body is just more in tune with them. They're going to get up they're going to be praying this, they're going to be doing ruku, they're going to go like this, and they're going to go down straight like that, right? They're going to go like this, Sami Allahu liman, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, and they're going to go immediately down like that. It's so fast for them because their body works so fast for them. Because they're young, they're in shape, and so every motion is just moving faster than what an older person would be doing it at. But the problem with that is, if your body has not rested at this point right here, it's not considered standing. If you do this, and then you immediately just go down, your body never rested in the position of standing. So technically speaking, it's not standing. You did not give the proper, it's called ta'dil al-arkan, giving each position of the prayer its due time. So if you get up from the prayer and you don't at least rest your body for a moment in this position, you did not do ta'dil al-arkan. You did not give the proper respect to that prayer position. So you did not fulfill a wajib of the prayer. That's why maybe you guys have heard that story. One time Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he saw one of the people praying in the gathering, and then the Sahabi, right after he said, Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Alaikum assalam, go pray, for indeed you did not pray. And then the Sahabi got confused, so he prayed right again. After the Salah, again, the Sahabi went to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and said, Assalamu alaikum. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, go pray again, because for indeed you did not pray. He did it 3 times. He prayed, and then he went to say salam to the Prophet, and the Prophet, again, each time told him, you did not go pray again, for indeed you did not pray. And then the Sahabi is like, Ya Rasulullah, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Can you tell me? And this is where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam informed him about the speed at which he was praying. He was not giving the due right position to each part of the Salah. He was going too fast in his motions. And this is something, again, when you're younger, you don't realize it. You don't realize it unless someone tells you. Because when you're praying, it's just automatic. Your body is just moving, right? And you're just saying everything. But when somebody else is looking at you, they can tell. There's no resting in between positions. You're just in a constant state of motion. And that is dangerous. So when you're praying, every position, make it seem as if you rested in that position. Don't just go into a position and then immediately just get up. Ruku, subhanallah. No, you didn't even rest in that position. Yeah, you said it once, but your body didn't rest in that position. So when you pray, make sure you rest in that position. And by rest, I mean your body has settled in that position. Okay. That is the standing. I need to at least stand. That's considered a wajib of the prayer. What time is it? 5:20. Okay, that's fine. Okay, reciting the takbir to perform the sajda of salah. So when the imam says Allahu Akbar, that is considered a sunnah. to let the musalli know that you're about to go into the sajda. It's sunnah to do so. Now I'm going to go and perform the first sajda. When I go like this, and I perform my first sajda, is that considered a fard, a wajib, or a sunnah? This is fard, right? You have to do the sajda. Just like the standing of the prayer, the ruku of the prayer, the sajda of the prayer is a fundamental aspect of the prayer. You have to do the sajda. So the first sajda is fard. You have to do it. All right. When going into the sajda, place both knees. The ranking of the body parts is, first you want to put your knees, then both hands, followed by placing the face between both the hands with the fingers facing towards the qibla. So I'm going to first let my knees hit, then my hands, and then my face is going to go in between the hands. And my fingers should be facing towards the qibla. We haven't discussed this yet, but ideally speaking, you want as many parts of your body facing the qibla as possible while you're praying. That's why you want your fingers facing forward, not slightly slanted. You want to keep them, ideally speaking, forward while you're praying. Now, this whole motion of how we do the sajda, is this considered fard, wajib, or sunnah? This is sunnah, right? Yes. And again, this makes it a lot easier because for many of us, we're not able to do the prayer like that, right? Because again, as you grow older, maybe sometimes you need to put your hands first before you put your knees because it puts too much stress on your knees and it hurts you. Is that going to break your prayer? No, because we just learned if you do it in a different way, you go into the position of sajda. Yeah, you didn't do it according to sunnah, but at least you did it in a way where it accomplishes the fard, right? Which is getting to the sajda position. So that is considered sunnah. At least doing it in the way where what? First your knees, then your hands, and then your face in between your two hands. Okay. Performing the first sajda, okay. While in sajda, a man should keep his arms. Okay. While you're in the position of sajda, you should keep your arms away from you, not inside. So when you're doing it, you don't want to keep it like this. Your elbows should not be inwards, they should be outwards. For the sisters, it's the opposite. Because when you keep it inwards, for the sisters, it's considered more astar. It's considered less revealing when you keep your body inwards. For the brothers, you keep it more outwards. You don't keep it inwards like that. You keep it more outwards, your elbows, while you're praying. And reciting the tasbih, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, while you're in sajda, is that considered a fard, a wajib, or a sunnah? What you guys think? You guys remember what it was in ruku? Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. What do we say for that? It's sunnah, right? So same thing. When we're in sajda, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la is considered sunnah. So if, for example, you forget while you're praying to say Subhana Rabbiyal A'la in any of the rakats, is your prayer still valid? Yes. Is it as good as what it could have been? No. But your prayer is still valid. Okay. All right, next it says, recite the takbir to sit between the two postures of salah. So we know that when we go into sajda the first time, there's two sajdas usually, right? So that takbir that we do, that is considered a sunnah. And when you're coming up from sajda, the first thing you should lift up is your face and then both the hands. If you do it the other way, let's just say you're getting a little bit old, and you need your hands to give you that force because your face just can't do it by itself. You need to do it in the opposite order. That's okay. Again, it's not going to make or break the prayer, but it's considered sunnah to first lift the face and then the hands. Okay. Sitting between the two sajdas, is that considered wajib or sunnah? Wajib, sunnah, or fard? So now I'm doing the sitting in between the two sajdas. I just did my first sajda. I said Allahu Akbar. Now this sitting itself, the action of sitting, is this considered fard, wajib, or sunnah? This is a wajib, yeah. This is the connector between the two sajdas. So it's wajib for you to do so. You need to have this position in order to get to the second sajda. How are you going to do the second sajda without the middle point? So the middle point is this action itself. So if you don't do this, you missed out on a wajib. So you must do this part while you're praying. All right, this is the most difficult part for a lot of us while we're praying, and that is when you're in the sitting posture, you should have your hands placed on your thighs. A lot of people, they put their hands on their knees instead. What's the difference between putting your hands on your thighs and your knees? What's the difference? What difference do you see here? Facing Qibla. Which one are you more likely to face the Qibla with? Is it the knees or the thighs? It's the thighs, because when your hands are on your knees, what happens? It's going downwards. You put it on your thighs, it's going more straight, more towards the Qibla, which is what we wanted. And you should ideally you should sit on your left leg and your right leg. It should be raised with these fingers. Again, where are they facing? Forward, towards the Qibla. Is this easy? Some will say no. Some will say yeah. How many of y'all are able to pray like this very easily with the right foot raised? How many of y'all are easily able to do this? We don't want to call anybody out. But it's difficult for some people, right? That's why, again, while you're praying, you know what a lot of people they do? Once they get to the last sajda, that's when they'll make that full effort and they'll at least put it. I tell the brothers, if you're going to pray, honestly speaking, the more you do a position, the easier it gets, honestly speaking. Yeah, of course, your body, it's just not used to this. That's why it's difficult right now. But if you consistently do it, your body naturally develops the routine of being able to do it. So if you get used to it, it'll become easier for you, inshallah. This is considered sunnah, yeah, keeping the hands on the thighs and the legs outwards. It's good it's not considered wajib, right? Because if it was, so many brothers, they'll be crying while they're praying. But, oh, yeah, Allah, please, I want my prayer to count. And they're like sweating. And right after the prayer, everybody lets out a, That's the first thing you do, right? That's what I do. That's the first thing I do. If I have to lead prayer, the first thing I do is I put my feet down. I'm like that. It does still hurt a little bit. Okay. Performing the second sajda of the prayer. Is that considered a fard, a wajib, or a sunnah? That's a fard. That's mandatory, right? Yes. Okay. All right, that was one rakat that we just now covered. 528. How are we feeling mentally? Has this been a lot of information? Are we digesting it? Because I don't want to keep on going forward if, the digesting part. I tell this to a lot of the kids. We as a generation, we're uploading a lot of material to our bodies. We're watching things, we're listening to things, we're talking about a lot of things. But there's very few things we're actually downloading. Meaning if I ask you 10 minutes later, hey, what was that you were listening to? If you watch your favorite episode of any show that you like, if I ask you 30 minutes later, hey, what was that episode about? I guarantee you will not be able to tell me, even half of the plot points. I used to do this when I was a teacher. I used to tell the kids, we would watch a video every Monday, and I would ask the kids, hey, what did you get out of the video? And I would ask them, you can tell me anything you learned from the video. It's a 5-minute video. But I said you can't say anything from the last 2 minutes. It has to be from the first 3 minutes. And there was almost not a kid able to raise their hand and say what they learned about the video. If I asked them, did you like the video? Oh, bro, it was an amazing video. I loved it. But if I asked them, hey, what happened in the first 3 minutes? I don't remember, but I can tell you the last 2 minutes. Last 2 minutes I can tell you. I was like, yeah, well, that's the thing, right? We need to get in the habit of downloading information. So that's why I get a little scared having a lot of material, because if we keep going forward, maybe what will happen is we're forgetting what we already covered. So it's a little dangerous. So what y'all think? It's 5:30. Maghrib prayer is at 6:20. 6:20-ish something. I think this will go by pretty fast because we already covered the rakat. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the last ending of the prayer, basically, okay? We're not going to repeat everything that we did. What y'all think? Do you guys remember what we've covered thus far? What are 3 fard that we covered thus far for prayer? Can anybody tell me 3? What are the three fards that we covered thus far for the prayer? See, now on the spot. When you put on the spot, it's more harder though. You remember, Akhi? The first one was the standing, right? Yeah, exactly. That's one. Ruku, that's the second one. Sujood, 3. All right, look at that. Teamwork makes the dream work. All right. What do we say about standing? When we're just standing after I did ruku and now I got up, what is this standing? Is this considered fard, wajib, or sunnah? This is considered wajib. I have to at least stand up over here and keep my body has to at least have been rested. If it's not, I missed out on a critical element of the prayer. What if I'm in ruku? I did the position of ruku, but I didn't recite anything. I was just super tired. It was a really late night. I stayed up all night, and I was just watching random stuff, and now I'm just trying to pray for the sake of praying. And I just was in ruku. I got into the perfect position where my body feel relaxed, but I forgot to say something, and I just got up. It's considered sunnah to recite something when you're in the position of ruku. My prayer is still intact. Am I doing a good prayer? Not really, but at least I know my prayer is still counting. Okay. All right, let's go quickly to, if you're in the document, we're on, let's see. We're on part 7. Okay. This is the final fard that we're going to cover, okay? I think we should at least cover this. When you're in your final rak'ah of Salah, the final one, so for Fajr, that is rak'ah number 2. For Dhuhr, that's 4. For Asr, that's 4. Maghrib, it's 3. Isha, it's 4. The last rak'ah that you sit for the duration of a tashahhud. This is considered fard. You must do this. That's the final fard of the prayer. When I get up from my final sajda, I say Allahu Akbar, and I'm on my second rakat of Fajr, for example. The last rakat that I'm on, I have to be in the sitting position for at least the duration of tashahhud. What is tashahhud? At-tahiyyatu lillahi was-salawatu wat-tayyibat. This part of the salah, I have to be sitting in this position at least for that duration. If I sit for less than that duration, I did not fulfill the minimum sitting requirement. I ended my prayer too soon. I have to at least sit for the duration of a tashahhud. Okay? Now, what about raising the index finger when I'm reciting the tashahhud? Is that considered a fard, a wajib, or a sunnah? It's considered sunnah. So when you see a brother constantly raising his finger, maybe he does a little twirl around, maybe he's doing a random motion, and you're like, well, what is this guy doing? Why is he praying this way? Again, he's doing a sunnah of the prayer. If according to his school of thought, that is how they pray, maybe it's different than you. But at the end of the day, according to them, that is what is the best sunnah to follow. According to you, this is the best sunnah to follow. You just raise your finger at the Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Either way, it's a sunnah of the prayer, it's a beautification of the prayer. It does not break the prayer though. So don't focus on your neighbor at this point of the prayer, just focus on yourself. The raising of the finger at the Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah is sunnah. If you do it, fantastic. You did a sunnah of the prayer. If you don't do it, you missed out on some extra reward you could have gotten while praying. All right, here's an interesting one. Reciting durood and a dua from the Quran or hadith after reciting tashahhud. So after saying the tashahhud, I say durood. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. And I also say a dua afterwards. Is that considered fard, wajib, or a sunnah? It's considered sunnah. So if, for example, I just want to finish my prayer as fast as possible, maybe I'm praying at the very latest moment of Fajr prayer, and I need to finish my prayer as fast as possible. I can literally just recite the tashahhud, and I can immediately start saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. But ideally speaking, do you want to do that? No, because you want to recite your durood, you want to recite a dua after your durood as well. What's the most famous dua that we recite after durood? Does anybody know? What's the famous one? Does anybody have a famous? Rabbi Jani Yeah. There's the Allahumma inni dhalamtu nafsi dhalman kathira. Have you guys heard that dua? وَلَا يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ فَاغْفِرْ لِي مَغْفِرَةً مِنْ عِنْدِكَ وَارْحَمْنِي إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. This is a very famous dua, and I'm just mentioning this part just because I thought about it. I thought it was just very interesting. In the Hanafi school of thought, this is the sunnah dua that you should recite at the end of the prayer. And I asked my teacher, why is that the case? Why out of all the duas that you could possibly recite, why is it this is the dua that we give like most like ahmiyat, like importance to? Why couldn't we do any other dua? So then my teacher explained, he said, when you think of narrators of hadith, who do you think of? When I say a hadith was narrated by a sahabi, who do you think of? You will think of Abu Huraira, right? You'll think Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. You'll think of any of these type of individuals, right? Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, who was going to, in the ranking of the Sahaba, where does he rank? He's the highest ranking Sahabi. He is number one. But if you ask how many hadith has he narrated in his entire life, it'll be very few in number. And why is that the case? Because he was very careful when he narrated a hadith, because he said, I'm very fearful of the statement, the one who, man kadhiba alayya muta'ammidan, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, anybody who attributes a lie for me, they've reserved their seat in Jahannam, in the hellfire. You know, like how we pre-order games nowadays? Back in the day, this is what Sahaba thought. If you were to, and this is how the mentality should be, if you say something and you attribute it to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and it's a lie, the Prophet is telling you, well, congratulations, friend, you just pre-ordered your seats. First line in Jahannam is going to be you. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is the most honest amongst the Sahaba, the highest ranking of the Sahaba. But you'll very rarely see him narrate a hadith. But one of the few hadith that he narrates in his life is, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam once taught me a dua as if he was teaching me a part of the Quran. He sat in front of me like this, and he taught me this dua that I should recite at the end of my prayer. And he said it was this one. Allahumma inni dhalamtu nafsi dhulman kathira. He recited this entire dua to me, and I say this at the end of my prayer. So now, according to the Hanafi school of thought, we said that this is a very huge moment. The fact that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was willing to narrate this hadith, this dua must be very special. So we say that you should recite this dua over any other dua at the end of the prayer. Now, can you recite any dua you want? Of course. It's your prayer. If you find some other dua in the Quran or the hadith that are more soothing to you, more comforting to you, then you recite it. But I'm just telling you the importance of this one because I found it very interesting myself.
And you can recite more than one dua also.
You can recite more than one dua. You can recite as many as you want, right? Of course, you're not going to ask Imam Sahib to do that at Isha prayer because we have a lot of musallis that we have to take consider of. But if you're praying by yourself, recite as many duas as you want because you're in a one-on-one audience with Allah. Okay. Last thing is, make salam turning the face to the right and then to the left saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Is this considered a fard, the wajib, or a sunnah? Well, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is considered a sunnah. Ending your prayer with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And again, be very careful. You don't add wa barakatuhu here. Normally speaking, you get 10 good deeds for saying Assalamu alaikum to somebody, 20 good deeds for saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, 30 good deeds for saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to your Muslim brother or sister when you say salam to them. But in the prayer specifically, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentions specifically the words, you just go till Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You don't go beyond that for the prayer specifically. Okay, and that is considered a sunnah action. Okay. One slightly interesting thing I'm just mentioning here. Notice how everything that we said after the tashahhud was considered sunnah or la. It was considered sunnah. So technically speaking, if you were to recite your tashahhud, and now while you're reciting your durood, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, or even while you're reciting your final dua, if for whatever reason you end up breaking your prayer, you ended up passing gas, or something happened that you ended up breaking your prayer, technically speaking, that action broke your prayer and now you're good to go. your prayer is completed on a technical level. The Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, the action that we do, this action is actually us breaking our prayer, because you're not supposed to be interacting with anybody while you're praying. But this Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, this is our sunnah action to break our prayer. So if you break your prayer in another way, you ended up losing your wudu after reciting the tashahhud and you're just reciting your durud and now you've lost your wudu. Yes, your prayer is done, but it's not broken because you already finished the minimum of the prayer, which was sitting in the final rak'ah and sitting for the duration of the tashahhud. You recited the durud now. You're at the durud part of the prayer. So you already finished the minimum of the prayer. So if you break it at that point, technically speaking, your prayer is good. You can end the prayer and you don't have to come back and make up that last part of the prayer. Okay, that was our mini little presentation on the prayer. If you guys were able to scan the QR code, wherever it is, I don't know where it is right now, the folder has this entire breakdown, position by position. I highly recommend you guys save it. You guys can keep it in your bookmarks on your phone. Whenever you pray, you can reference it afterwards, and you can see what part of the prayer was I at? Was that a sunnah? Was it a fard? Was it a wajib? And also in this document, there's also a breakdown of each position of the prayer. What do you say in both English, Arabic, and also transliteration? Meaning, if you don't know how to read Arabic yet, new Muslim, it has it broken down in English the way the Arabic sounds in English. So you can, all the prayer positions, they're written down on that document, and you can read them one by one. Because I know a lot of you guys are not gonna say, raising your hands, hey, this part of the prayer, like when you're sitting, I don't know this wording, can you help me? A lot of people are very shy about prayer. So the document that I shared with you guys, it has a whole section that breaks down each part of the prayer word by word. So if you want to memorize it line by line, there's a document in there, and you can do that, okay? So if you want to go over that, inshallah, you can. If you want to forward this document to anybody, you're more than welcome to do so. And maybe you know a new brother in your school or in your friend circle, he doesn't come to the masjid very often. Hand it out to them, inshallah, they'll be able to benefit, they'll feel more confident in their prayer. Inshallah, next week is going to be our final session. We're going to do the fiqh of fasting. Because Ramadan is coming up, we want to make sure that we have no doubts in our fasting, so it doesn't go to waste. And the weekend after that, there's going to be a youth retreat. So I will have the flyer for that for you guys next week. Make sure you guys attend that event. It's March 10, 11, 12. It's going to be from Friday night all the way to Sunday morning. You guys can spend the entire night in the masjid if you guys want. All right, Jazakumullah khairan. I'll see you guys next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.